thousands of visitors are enjoying a carefree day out at Chester Zoo. But behind the scenes, the head keeper of carnivores, Alan Woodward, is at the centre of a life and death struggle. It concerns 2 male lion cubs that were born at the zoo just 48 hours ago.
I think the maternal behaviour just isn't there.
Yeah, she doesn't really know what she's meant to be doing.
No, she doesn't.
Alan and resident vet James Chatterton reluctantly intervened when it became clear that the cubs' mother, Asha, wasn't taking care of them.
If we leave them in there, I think they're going to die.
The decision to remove the cubs saved their lives, but it will be several more days before they are out of danger.
Not as bad.
James has made the cubs his top priority.
So it's been about 3 hours since I last saw them, so I've just come to see how they're getting on. The weak one is still a little bit weak. The stronger one seems to be taking the bottle feeding really well, so just come to reassess them really.
Since birth, they've been starved of their mother's milk, which has left them weak and open to infection. Alan recently began the bottle feeding.
The last milk feed they had multivitamins in there as well, about 4 drops of multivitamins. So they get that the first feed of every day, and then it's just the milk after that, really.
It's the start of a massive undertaking. The cubs will need feeding every 3 hours, day and night. And extra veterinary care will be required for the smaller cub because he's dehydrated and traces of blood have been found in his urine.
Basically, the urine's red coloured, and it was first thing this morning, it still is, and there can be a number of different reasons for that. That can be just some trauma from mum, you know, or it could be a sign of an infection. If it goes away quickly, I'll feel a lot happier about it. Whilst the red stays present in his urine, I remain concerned about him.
James gives the cub a full physical examination.
It's important we check around the umbilicus and make sure there's no sign of infection. This is a common route for infection to get into little babies through the umbilicus here, but that looks okay.
It's still a critical time, but James is encouraged by the cub's improvement in only a few hours.
Compared to first thing this morning, when we first examined the cub, we picked the skin up and let go, and it just stayed up there for a long time. Now it is going back. It's still maybe a little bit slower than you would want. It could be several hours before the dehydration is corrected fully, so we're early doors for that yet. And I think we're heading in the right direction as far as the hydration goes.
Until now, the weaker cub hasn't had the natural sucking reflex needed to feed successfully. But Alan is starting to see progress.
This cub, because it's the smallest, I mean, he is starting with a bit of a handicap, and he has got a lot more weight to put on than the other one, really. So, but he is getting stronger, and this is the first time he's actually started to suck on his own, which is great news, really.
The stronger cub has been feeding well, with inevitable consequences.
This is some of the meconium coming through now. What usually passes through first of all. You do the front part first, then do the back part later. Yeah. It's past loads.
Yeah, good. So they're not out the woods yet. We've still got one poorly and one very poorly cub, you know.
Well, I'll keep an eye on the small one, and we saw a slight improvement in it this time, so hopefully the next time will be even better, really.
I shall have fingers and toes and everything crossed.
Okay, right.
I shall see it in a day or two. Okay.
Okay, thanks for your help
Thanks,
anyway.
Sam.
Okay.
James will be on call whenever he's needed. But from now on, it's Alan who will play mum to the cubs and spend 24 hours a day with them.
We've all got quite a lot of work in front of us, and it's our job now to make sure the cubs survive, well, as much as we can do as possible anyway.
It's a job he's done before, so he knows he's in for some sleepless nights.
I'm not too good at interrupted sleep. I usually need quite a lot of sleep. I'm usually quite grouchy, so everybody be on their toes the next couple of weeks, I think.
The hard graft starts here. Alan is due a day off, but from now on, everywhere he goes, the cubs go too. He heads home early to get them settled in and to give them another feed before bedtime. It could be a long night. It's a big day for the baby Humboldt penguins. Last month, they were being reared in a nursery pool, separated from the adults in the main pool.
So many other penguins there that they find it really difficult to compete for fish.
At that stage, two of the youngest, Magenta and Jet, were still being hand-fed. Now, all the babies have made great progress, and keeper Claire Rafe is giving them what may be their last feed in the nursery pool.
Today we're going to release the penguins. Because, as you can see, they're all feeding quite happily by themselves. We'll be opening the gate and letting them go into the main pool with the others. And now, once they've started taking the fish from the water, it's pretty much that we don't hand feed them. But it is quite tempting when they waddle up to you for a little fish, but you have to be quite strict. The penguins are quite keen. I think they're going to go out quite quickly. But my boss isn't so sure. We'll see, because they could be a little bit shy.
Right on cue, the boss arrives. Head keeper Andy Woolham.
Right, it's time for you chaps to go into the main pool. Let's get this gate open for you. The chances are they'll sit there and do nothing at all. They'll look at the gate, and then when it's a bit quieter later, they might wander through. I think they'll be out tomorrow morning, to be honest. I think they should be out. Should be. But it's entirely up to them.
It's a big leap from the nursery area to the main pool, and the youngsters are none too sure about it.
They're having a look at the gate. It's all about their confidence, really. If they feel confidence as to what's on the other side, they'll be away.
Jet, with the green tags, and Magenta, with the orange tags, are curious about what lies outside their enclosure. But they're too scared to go and investigate.
Go on. Like the penguin whisperer.
As the afternoon draws to an end, it looks as if Andy's prediction is right. Even the boldest penguin bottles out, and Claire's lost the bet with her boss.
He just thought that they wouldn't do anything, which has been proved right, which is a bit of a pain, really.
Claire will be back later to see if they stay or go. On Lemur Island, the hungry residents are tucking in to dinner with their usual enthusiasm. All, that is, except one. Larry the lemur has been taken to the animal health centre because he's lost his appetite. And that almost certainly means there's something seriously wrong with him. James has arrived to examine him, but first he'll have to be given an anaesthetic.
Some species would be able to examine and maybe treat without having to anaesthetise first. Unfortunately, with this little guy, the majority of that we can't do with him awake.
Back on Lemur Island, head keeper Andy Lenihan is carrying on with the daily routine, but he can't hide his concern for Larry.
We get hardly any illnesses with any of the primates, really, not just the lemurs, but we don't see the vets very often, just mainly fight wounds, things like that, or if we're implanting females, for instance, to stop them breeding. It is very unusual for a lemur of any kind here at Chester to take ill, but because they're such small animals, you've got to catch it pretty quick because they go down quite rapidly, you see.
Veterinary nurses Karen Homer and Tanya Kerno helped to anaesthetise Larry.
You're happy?
So
Yeah.
gas is off. He's anaesthetised. We've got the tube into his trachea, into his windpipe. That's how we administer the anaesthetic and the oxygen.
Once he's asleep, James intends to take x-rays of his digestive system.
Happy?
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone out?
Yep.
The x-rays will show if there are any obstructions in his stomach.
Done.
While Larry's still asleep, they give him antibiotics and take a blood sample.
We're going to send that off to the laboratory and get that tested for a whole range of different things. And that'll give us an idea of how his liver and his kidneys and lots of other things are doing.
Then James rehydrates him.
We're giving him some fluids under his skin. It's not as good as putting him on a drip, but obviously This guy, when he's awake, wouldn't tolerate a drip being in place.
The final task is to examine the X-rays.
There's not as much food matter in his intestines as I would normally see, and there's a lot of gas and a little bit of fluid. So it'll be interesting to see what he does now he's confined, what he does overnight, whether he eats, whether there's any vomiting, whether there's any diarrhoea, and that combined with the results from the blood sample that we took will give us a lot more information as to what's going on with him.
Karen and Tanya watch over Larry as he comes round from the anaesthetic.
He says, I'm feeling a little bit hungover, but not too bad.
Once he's fully awake, he's taken back to Lemur Island, to an enclosure where he can see the others, but recover on his own.
We've then got his favourite foods inside his enclosure, so we're going to try and tempt him to start eating. The next sort of 24, 48 hours are going to be crucial, really, to see how he responds to the treatment.
It's early morning at Chester Zoo, and the baby penguins have had over 12 hours to move from the nursery pool to the adults' enclosure.
Morning, little one.
Keeper Claire Rafe has come to see how many of them have plucked up the courage to go.
Still at least 2 that haven't decided to go out. You're a bit scared? Yeah. Just having a quick check to see if there's any others hiding in boxes or under pamperses or anything. Oh, there is. Who are you? Oh, okay. Cover you back up. I think by the looks of it, the 2 youngest ones, the double green and the double orange, have actually gone out. So I'll head off now and try and search for them. There's 2 there.
At the big pool, the first baby Claire sees is magenta with the orange tags.
He's obviously found his feet and he's quite happy and confident to be out with the others. But I'll have a look for the other ones. They must be around somewhere. There's 3 babies there at the moment, and then there were 3 on the nursery pool. So there's another 4 to find somewhere. But that one there, perfectly shown, is the double green one, which was one of the babies, the one that was sort of the most confident at having a bit of a look out yesterday afternoon.
Jet seems to be at home among the adults.
And that one there is the double black one. So I think that's all 10 of them seen. That is a brilliant result. To see them all go and be, you know, sort of teenage penguins and be out with the others and mixing well, it is really, it's kind of makes the job worthwhile. At 8 o'clock in the morning when you get rained on and everything, it makes it worthwhile.
But Claire's work isn't finished. The youngsters need to learn to catch their fish in the face of fierce competition from the adults.
Come on, little ones. Okay. Go on, if you watch them, they're doing it. Learn from the adults. That's it. Well done, clever penguin.
But some obviously need more practice. In the nursery pool, there are 3 babies still to go.
Hopefully, because it's just down to 3 of them, they'll start to sort of go looking for the others, and if they see the others maybe wandering around, it might encourage them to go out. I think they're a bit cowardy, to be honest. Bit of a big girl, aren't you?
A few miles from the zoo, head keeper Alan Woodward has a day off. But it's not going to be a day of rest.
I'm feeling a bit frazzled today because I haven't had much sleep, but you get used to it. You get used to it after a while anyway.
Alan is playing mum to 2 two-day-old lion cubs. And like any new parent, he's under enormous stress.
I think the first night is one of the critical nights, really, but obviously the longer you go, the more out of the danger zone you are.
24 hours ago, the cubs were dehydrated and close to death. Taking them away from their mother was a gamble, but already Alan is seeing signs that it's working.
This is the bigger of the 2. He was the stronger one. These are brilliant signs. I mean, he's come on in leaps and bounds since yesterday. And it's important not to overload this system. I mean, that's why we start with small amounts, then as they drink more, we increase the amount they have. But at this stage, it's just small amounts on a regular basis, really. This is the smaller one. This is the one that we nearly found dead yesterday. And you see just how much livelier he is now. I mean, I'd say that's about 100% improvement from yesterday. This one did have a problem with suckling, but he's picking it up now. He's taken the bottle quite well, really, once he gets used to it. Sometimes, like in litters, you do get what we call the runt, and I think he is a bit of a runt. But hopefully he'll catch up. It's very exhausting. It's never easy hand-rearing an animal, but it's a huge achievement, and it's certainly worthwhile. I mean, when you see the end results and everything's going fine. I mean, it's a huge responsibility as well, but if we can rear these cubs, I mean, it'll be a great achievement, really.
It will be several more days before the cubs are fully out of danger. Several more days before Alan will discover if all his hard work will pay off. Chester's Sulawesi macaques are in for a treat, courtesy of senior keeper of primates, Jason Boyer. But he's going to make sure they work for it.
We've got apricot, bit of pineapple. There's also apples, bananas, pears, oranges. So they get quite a varied diet. In this job, a good head for height comes in handy because monkeys do like to play around in the trees naturally, so obviously we need to get to the areas that they want to be in. They're a lot better at it than I am.
Jason climbs to the roof to ride on a special trolley. It enables him to move quickly from one end of the enclosure to the other, feeding the macaques at treetop level.
The younger and smaller animals tend to get the majority of the food because they're that much more agile and nimble, and whereas the dominant, heavier animals aren't able to move around as quickly or as well at that height.
It's a tactic that ensures fair shares for all.
If I was to feed them on the ground, although we spread the food out as much as we can do, the dominant animals tend to sort of like bully their way into getting the nicer bits of food. This way, at least a few times a week, the subordinate animals tend to get to the nicer bits first.
By the time Jason's back on the ground, the macaques have polished off every last morsel. Back at the penguin pool, Keeper Claire is delighted with her 10 young protégés. Now all of them have graduated to the main pool and learned to fend for themselves.
As you can see, the baby penguins, the ones with the tags on, are mixing really well with the group now, and you can actually see Jet and Magenta, the two youngest, the double green and double orange tag. But yeah, just to see them go out and to mix well with the rest of the group is fantastic. Makes the smell of fish worthwhile.
Head keeper Andy Lenihan is heading back to Lemur Island to feed the colony and to visit Larry, the lemur who was taken ill yesterday.
They like the food, the lemurs. They've got quite a sweet tooth. I mean, when you feed them all, they just dive on the food, and if one's not doing that, then that's quite unusual. Either the group won't let him feed, or he doesn't want to eat, which is what it was in Larry's case. So. We've got Larry inside here at the moment. I'm not going to do much with him today, just checking that he's all right and giving him some food, really. His eyes are droopy, his ears are droopy, his posture's sort of low to the ground. He just doesn't look like a totally healthy lemur at the moment. We like bananas actually, but he was slightly dehydrated yesterday, so he's probably going to prefer eating a couple of grapes. We had to separate him, not only to do some tests on him, but also so we could get a bit of food down him and monitor exactly what he's eating. When you separate an animal like this from a group, it's very hard to put them back in the group sometimes. If they don't accept him, they'll just attack him, and they don't stop, they're relentless. So you then have to remove him, and he goes on a list of surplus animals, and he'll probably go to another zoo. I think the vets are going to come and see him again tomorrow, see if he's improved at all, and if he hasn't, maybe give him another antibiotic injection. But really we're awaiting his test results to sort of pinpoint what exactly is wrong with him.
Next time, Larry's test results are in, and James is by his side.
You just take each day as it comes, and you don't get ahead of yourselves, you know.
He just needs to push a bit more and he'll be out.
Lara plays midwife to a rare chick. And the little lion lets out his first roar.
I'm sorry.
Early morning at Chester Zoo, and head keeper of carnivores, Alan Woodward, is coming to terms with some shattering news. When Asha neglected her 2 newborn cubs, the team intervened to save their lives.
It's this little weak one that I'm more concerned about. I know, it's a shame.
The cubs survived the critical first hours, and Alan took them home and began the gruelling task of hand-rearing them.
It's our job now to make sure the cubs survive, well, as much as we can do as possible anyway.
But despite round-the-clock care, there have been tragic developments.
Unfortunately, the other evening, the smaller of the 2 cubs took a turn for the worst. He started going downhill quite rapidly. I was up with him all night, drip feeding him, trying to get liquids into him, but he wasn't actually swallowing after the last few feeds, so which was a worrying sign anyway.
Alan called in resident vet James Chatterton.
The lion cub deteriorated really rapidly. So when they're so young, they tend to get poorly so quickly that your opportunity to diagnose and treat is much shorter. Everything happens really, really quickly.
And then he just passed away about 4 o'clock in the morning.
It is upsetting, you know, when any of our animals die, but especially one so young. It's a very sad occasion, but hopefully we can learn from that, and maybe that'll help us help the other lion cub. And that's the most important thing, that even when things go bad, we can still learn things from that and help us with the animals that are still alive.
I think when you actually lose an animal, you feel a huge sense of loss. I think it's even worse when you lose a cub the size of the cub which we just lost. I mean, especially when it seemed to be starting to improve, and then it took a drastic turn downhill, really.
The cub's death is devastating, but it strengthened Alan's determination to keep the remaining cub alive. He's been transferred to a portable intensive care unit, which will be regulated with warm air at all times.
Because he's on his own now, it's quite important that he has something to cuddle up to. So we've got him something to go in with him, and he quite appreciates it. He plays with it quite a lot, even though he can't see, but he likes to feel something near him, and the toy seal's actually doing a good job, really.
Alan's bond with the surviving cub is growing, but to give him the best start, he must remain professional.
The thing is not to treat him as a pet. Obviously, we need to look after him really well, but he needs to know he's a lion also. He recognises my scent now. The thing is, when he's asleep, it's not to scare him to wake up. I mean, you have to do it gradually. But the good thing is now he's getting used to the feed times, and he's actually waking up before he's due to be fed. So he's not so stressed out at all, really.
The other lion cub seems to be doing really well. It had a little bit of a better start. It looked like it had a small amount of its mother's milk, and that's very important for them to have in the first few hours of life. He's living on a knife edge, really. So if we get to sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, as the eyes start to open, then we start to feel a little bit more confident. So although at the moment it looks like it's doing pretty well, as we saw with the other lion cub, things can change really, really quickly.
The last couple of days have been like an emotional roller coaster, really. I'm feeling very frazzled. I'm relieved that the second cub is doing so well. He's extremely strong, so different from the other one. The other one was about half his size. We can only hope at the moment, and I'm going by what he looks like and how he's behaving. It's very, very sort of hopeful.
Alan will continue to do all he can for the surviving cub, but for now his future remains uncertain. Senior keeper Belinda Porter is playing matchmaker to a rare and unusual female pig.
Come on, girl, that's it. On here. Good girl. This is Majine. She's a female Babirusa. It's a type of pig. And she comes from the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia. That's the only place you'll find them, on this one particular island. So it's very important that we conserve the species and get her breeding.
A male Babirusa is arriving at Chester later today, and Belinda wants Majine looking her best. So it's on to the weigh scales.
Good girl. So you weigh about 54k there, which is fine. Don't want you to lose any more weight than that. There we go. Good girl. That's it. So you ready?
Every girl needs pampering, especially before an all-important first date. And Majine is no exception.
All I'm doing here is putting on just a typical moisturiser that a person would use, because you find that the skin tends to get a little bit dry and chapped and just breaks and flakes up a little bit. And it's probably just because that she's not mud wallowing as much as she would do in the wild. And that would sort of make her skin nice and supple and moist, protect her from any insects. And she loves it as well. She's quite a cheeky character, but they tend to find that the majority of Babirusa are very friendly, so we tend to give her quite a little bit of attention and play with her.
So far, Majine has been unlucky in love. With fewer than 20 potential mates in the whole of Europe, it's not surprising.
The last two males we've had have been quite old and arthritic. They're just quite difficult to get a hold of young males. So we're hoping to be successful and breed from this female this time round, because she's at a very good age. We don't want her to get any older.
Belinda finishes Majine's beauty treatment just in time. Her hot date has arrived. The male Babirusa, called Sausage, has come all the way from the South Lakes Animal Park in Cumbria. He's been cooped up for nearly 3 hours, so the team want to get him out of his crate as soon as possible.
So we're going to take him over to his new house and unload him. We're really excited. We can't wait to see him. Are we all ready?
Yeah, ready to go.
At well over 50 kilos, he's a heavy boy.
Which end?
It takes 6 people to move him to his new pen.
Let's lower him down and have a look.
Yeah, it's facing that end.
Which end?
Yeah, we're right.
And tighten against the fence line.
The team have prepared a dark, quiet box to calm Sausage down after the stresses of his journey.
So what we're about to do is just lift this slide up, and hopefully the Babirusa is just going to walk straight out into the box without problem.
After a moment's hesitation, Sausage enters his new home. And senior keeper Phil Molyneux checks him over.
Looks fine. Obviously looks a bit shocked, a bit disorientated, but yeah, he's fine. He's quite calm. Majine will be very happy when she gets claps eyes on him.
That's a perfect unloading, no stress, hassle-free. And now we're just going to leave him overnight to get used to his enclosure, the smells. We've got a female next door, so I imagine he's going to hear her and smell her. And then we'll look to introduce them together tomorrow.
After a string of bad relationships, the meeting can't come soon enough for Majine. Headkeeper Alan has left the lion cub in the incubator and is on his way to check on the red panda cubs, Ming Ming and Doo Doo. When the cubs were born, it was a nervous time for everyone.
The first one she had before she died at 3 months with a heart defect, so that's why it's important to make sure the hearts are working properly.
After a thorough medical check, both cubs were given the all clear.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, good.
But Alan was keen to return them to Mum and the safety of the den as quickly as possible.
The mother's fretting, and because you've known them so long, you start fretting a bit. So it's important that you get them back to the mother as soon as possible.
Le Shui is first out of the den, followed by Ming Ming. He's 3 months old and now almost as big as Mum. This is Alan's first look at the cubs for nearly 2 months, and he's delighted with their progress.
I was getting a bit worried that they were going to be a bit agoraphobic, but actually they've taken the first step and come out. I mean, sort of weeks are going by, and every week we thought, well, this will be the week they'll come out, and so be it. They're out today. Even though they're in a zoo, you don't want to interfere with the process of them coming out on their own, because it could upset them quite a bit. And I mean, it was worth the wait, and it's great to see them outside now, really. I think it's quite normal for the mother to do a lot of the work. She's more watchful over them, they're far more protective now they're outside. While they're in the box, she used to go in the box, sort of feed them and come out. But now they're going all over the place. She has to watch everywhere, really, so it's quite a stressful time for her as well. So she's like worried about where they're going to. She's sort of watching where they are, and Dad's snoozing most of the day. At the age they are now, I mean, they're quite sure-footed. I mean, they have very sort of good nails to climb up the trees anyway. I mean, that's why they stay in the nest box for so long, because they're that much more advanced when they come out. And to look at them, I mean, they're about the size of their mother now. I mean, she still tries to drag them around a bit, but they're a bit more of a handful now than what they were before.
After the week's tragic events, the sight of the young cubs and their mother doing so well couldn't come at a better time.
It is a huge sense of achievement for all of us, really, and for the pandas as well, because now they've bred, and hopefully they'll breed every year, and it's the start of an ongoing thing, which is good, isn't it? And very good for the zoo.
At Chester Zoo, it's time for one of head keeper Chas Mackenzie's favourite chores: cleaning out the banded mongoose enclosure. These gregarious creatures have a special bond with Chas.
Well, when the group arrived, they went in quarantine for 6 months, so I was the person who worked with them the most then. I was, like, for at least 5 days a week I was working with them. So you kind of get a nice rapport with them. So basically just kept it on, I do quite a bit of the work with it. Come back with that bag.
Mongooses live in social groups, and here at Chester there are 9. And that's plenty for Chas.
I would say I normally clean them out like this once a week, where they've kicked all the bark over. I'll tidy it all up, put it all back, and sort it all out, and then I'll leave it again for another week, because by that time they've wrecked it all again. So it keeps you busy for a while, doesn't it? The only thing they interfere is they sometimes come up and the back of your legs and nip you. They run off with your back bags. They want to see and do everything that you want to do. Very nosy, very inquisitive, into everything. Ow! Don't bite. They can shift tons and tons of stuff around, so yes, they're always at it. Probably an enjoyable game for them. I shift it, they shift it back.
In the wild, speed is the mongoose's best defence against predators. Here at Chester, their only threat is from a frustrated zookeeper.
Thanks. I'll go around chasing a bin bag round the paddock, won't I? And you didn't bring it back either, did you?
Chas will be back next week with a fresh supply of bin liners. Love is in the air at the Babirusa pig enclosure as head keeper Tim Rowlands checks on Majine's new boyfriend, Sausage.
He'd eaten everything last night. He's eaten everything this morning, so now it's time to let him out. Best case scenario, he walks out, I then let the girl out, and they start mating, we have piglets in the not too distant future. Come on, mate. Hopefully he'll come out, take a wander around, get used to his environment, and then after a few minutes, I'll let the female out.
When the door to his paddock is opened, it's a no-show. And it looks as though Majine might have a reluctant Romeo on her hands.
But I might just have to alter the plan and introduce her.
But Majine hasn't waited all this time just to be stood up. And after some gentle encouragement, she eventually persuades him to come outside.
She's fairly experienced. This is the third male she's been with, so that's why we're quite confident that she would settle him down a little bit, so she wanted to go in and see him.
Sausage should be the same colour as Majine, but he'll need a good clean-up if he's to revert to his natural shade.
He's pink because of the soil from where he came from. All the animals up there, if they dig wallows, are pink, so hippos up there are pink. We'll get him back down to his natural battleship grey. That's him greeting her, yeah. And she's doing a low murmur back to him, which is really good that they're starting to vocalise towards each other, especially in a friendly way.
The team are keen to give Sausage a name more befitting his exotic heritage.
We're going to try and find something that will match Margine's name, so possibly a Sulawesi name. So I'm going to leave it down to the girls to find a nice name for him. And one beginning with S.
Okay.
Easy boy.
Sabulu.
Sabulu. I like that one. I like Sosu.
Sosu. I think that's right.
Sosu. Sosu? Sosu, it's official name.
Sosu it is.
Majine is a nice pig, so to have a young male a similar age to her, everything should be fine, and to have piglets would be fantastic.
At the end of a long day, the head keeper of carnivores, Alan Woodward, has one more job to do, and he's going to need the help of the whole team.
So I'm going to have somebody buy this box here to stop them running back in, because if it goes into the tunnel, we have trouble getting out of that tunnel, but the other boxes are okay.
Andy's, the bush dog, is about to be transferred to another zoo, but first, she needs to be caught.
Bush dog's very vulnerable in the wild, so this female is going to go to another collection at Port Lympne in Kent, and hopefully she'll start another breeding programme down there. That's why it's so important that we breed these animals in zoos, then go into other collections and start new breeding programmes off.
Chester Zoo is home to 4 bush dogs. Along with Andy's, there's Oyapoke, Rio and Salvador. They may be small, but they're speedy and efficient hunters with sharp teeth. Preparing for a tricky capture is vet James Chatterton.
Pretty powerful little things, I would imagine, though. So we shall see. This is why I like the job. You know, never, no 2 days the same.
Chris, are there any dogs in there?
No.
Okay.
Bush dogs spend much of their time in burrows, so Alan will need to coax them out.
Laura, if you want to stand by just a bit away from the entrance in case they're in there, yeah. And if one of the youngsters come out, just net it straight away, and then we'll try that one. You ready? Yeah. Okay. It's quite challenging. I mean, you have to run all over the enclosure trying to catch them, and the knack is to actually try and catch the right one. There's one more left coming out. Try and get that one as it comes out. Is that the old female?
I can see a face, but I'm not like it.
Right, we'll leave that one anyway. If you stand over there, Laura, and just catch them as I chase them back round.
With Rio left in the den, the team now have a 1 in 3 chance of catching the right one at the first go, but they need to be quick.
They're very quick, they're like lightning.
The team use special padded nets to ensure the bush dogs are not injured during the capture.
Right, there's one coming round towards you now. It's quite a gentle process, really. I mean, the animals do get slightly stressed, but it's over and done with very quickly. I've got one. bush dogs from South America. Their main prey are agoutis, which are small rodents, and they can live in packs of up to about 25 animals.
The bush dog has a special microchip implanted under its skin. James uses a scanner to find out if they caught the right one.
No?
No.
OK. So what we'll do now, we'll put this bush dog over in the isolation area so we know which one we've caught. So it's a matter of elimination, really. There you go.
1 down, 2 to go.
Laura, try and get this one now.
Is this the right one?
No.
No?
That's the chip number on this one. That's the chip number we're looking for.
Right, OK. It's going to be the last one, I think. There you go. There's one coming over towards you.
After another chase, it's a relief to everyone when Andy's is finally captured.
Bingo.
Great.
So you just got the word.
Chris, if you and Laura bring the box in now.
Yep.
Cheers. It's good exercise.
The bush dog will be transported to the zoo in Kent, where she'll be introduced to a mate to continue Chester Zoo's successful breeding programme.
Thanks, James. Usually they travel very well. She'll just settle down in the crate and probably just sleep most of the way.
We done?
We're done. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, James. Thanks. OK. Bye.
Next time,
Bingo.
Vet Steve films a dragon with a wonky walk.
You can see he's looking a little bit bow-legged on those front legs, like he's been pumping a little bit too much iron.
And a soccer's looking for love, but Asher's having none of it.
He knows that she's going to come into season any day now, so he's buttering her up a bit.
It's nearly midnight, but in a quiet street not far from Chester Zoo, a dedicated keeper is still on duty. Hand-rearing a lion cub is a round-the-clock job, and head keeper Alan Woodward is feeling the effects of 3 weeks of sleep deprivation.
The night feeds are quite exhausting. I think it's one of the worst parts. But obviously, I mean, when you see how well Tejas is doing, it's well worth it. But when you're working as well, it is very tiring, extremely tiring.
Tejas is one of 2 lion cubs saved by Chester Zoo when they were neglected by their mother, Asher. Tejas got stronger with every passing day, but the team lost the fight to save his little brother. The tragedy was difficult to deal with, but Alan didn't give up on Tejas, and his commitment has paid off.
Sometimes Tejas wakes me up because I sleep next to him, but more often than not, the alarm goes off about 10 minutes before his actual feed. But as he's getting older, he knows the time now, and he knows what's coming up, really.
Tejas needs to be fed every 3 hours, night and day, and monitored constantly. The task has had a huge impact on Alan's personal life.
When you hand-rear an animal, I mean, it's a huge commitment on your behalf. I mean, you don't have any social life. Your whole life revolves around the animal because, I mean, you're a surrogate mother to the animal, really. There you go. It's finished. Hold on. There you go. Let's wipe your face. People think, oh, you know, it's so nice to be hand-rearing a lion, but they don't realise, I mean, you have to do everything the mother does. I mean, apart from feeding, you have to do the toilet side of things. You have to clean him up. You have to do all the washing for the bedding and things like that. And by the time you sterilise the bottles, prepare the next feed, in between you perhaps only get, say, an hour and a half to yourself, and that's it. Since I've been hand-rearing Tejas, I've had about 2 nights off, and Dave Hall, my second in charge, he's taken him for those 2 nights. So I've had a little bit of a rest, but you do start sort of panicking a bit, and there's a lot of texting going on, just to make sure that everything's okay on both sides, really.
All the hard work has strengthened the bond between the two. Eventually they'll part company, but for now Alan enjoys the rare privilege of watching Tejas grow.
We've all been through quite a lot with him, really. I mean, over the past 3 weeks, and it's difficult not to get attached to somebody like this. I mean, it's extremely difficult. You do get attached. I mean, you can't avoid it, and I think the worst part is going to be when he goes. I mean, he's going to have to go to another zoo anyway. I mean, for his own good and start start a new breeding program there, which is what it's all about. I mean, that's our job. Bedtime now.
Tomorrow's a big day. Tejas will make his debut in front of the local media. He'll need a good night's sleep if he's to be at his best, and so will Alan.
Yes, it's bedtime for me now. Just clear up again, and then hopefully in about 10 minutes I'll be asleep.
Early the next morning at Chester Zoo, the daily feeding and routine checks on the animals are underway. Senior keeper James Andrews and student Louise Allen want to check up on one of the jaguars. In the wild, jaguars would rarely survive beyond 12 years old. Salvador has done well to make it to the ripe old age of 16. But James is concerned that he's not fully fit.
For the past few days, he's been looking a bit lethargic, a bit bloated, off his food a little, a bit stiff, but he does look stiff anyway with his age.
James isn't sure what's causing Salvador's symptoms, so he's carrying out some basic tests.
What we're going to do now is weigh him. We've taken a faecal sample and a urine sample. We're going to weigh him. We're just gathering information at the moment, decide what to do about it.
Weighing a big cat may not seem like an easy task, but James has plenty of experience.
He's shut out of his den at the moment. We're going to go in there, we're going to put some weigh bars down, a piece of wood on top. The weigh bars are connected up to a reader, and then when we let him into the den, he comes onto the board and the reader reads, and that's how we get his weight. One board, complete with muddy jaguar footprints. Salvador's easy to weigh. Sophia next door, you can't do it because she just flips the board off and tries to eat the weigh bars. Salvador is usually okay. He hasn't tried to eat any equipment yet. Here we go. So he's just come in, he's having a look around. It's a bit different. He has seen this setup several times already, so he's not going to be unduly worried, but he might be a bit cautious. Now, we're not in any particular hurry. He's not going to lose or gain weight in the next sort of 15 minutes or so, so it really doesn't matter if he spends a bit of time. But usually you find within the first 5 minutes or so he'll get on. If he starts trying to pull it off like that, chicken please. Cute.
A chicken distracts Salvador from removing the board and lures him onto it.
Okay, watch that monitor. Okay, what are you on? What are you on?
Okay, that's 74.5.
74.5.
Salvador weighs more than usual, perhaps because he's bloated. But it's not a big difference, so James is encouraged.
Right, now I want to get him off it. Right, I'm going to chuck a chicken in. It's nice to think you're giving them a reward. Really, it's just to get him out of the den so I can get the weigh bars out, but it's nice to think of it as a reward for doing the right thing. Of course, Salvador's got no idea that's what it is, but hey. Okay, chicken goes in. And that is how you weigh a jaguar. Dun, 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 dun. That looks okay, so hopefully we'll get his joints sorted out, see what the vets think, but we'll keep on monitoring fecal and urine and so on and see how we go.
Regular checks will detect any major problems. But for now, Salvador is looking good for his age. Chester Zoo's tropical realm is the largest tropical house in the country. As part of the morning routine, keeper Jeff McLeod is putting the rain into its tropical rainforest.
Some of our birds like a shower in the morning with the hose, the VIP bathing. She's the female wrinkled hornbill. She likes a shower with the hose, and she's quite comfortable just to sit in the sprinkle and have a bath.
There are over 50 species of hornbills in the world. 5 of them are represented in the tropical realm, the largest being the rhinoceros hornbill.
We're just hosing the rhinoceros hornbill aviary now, and they love to leaf bathe. So whenever they want to wash, you've got to hose all the plants in the aviary, and then they'll fly into the leaves, and they get absolutely saturated just from doing that. And it's, you know, you wouldn't believe how wet they actually get from just leaf bathing. With them being a canopy species, They live more or less in the treetops, and they very rarely come to ground to get water, so it's the best way for them to keep clean. It's one of the most relaxing parts of the day, just in the morning times, giving the birds a bath.
And it seems the hornbills enjoy the daily deluge just as much as Jeff. Over at the elephant house, it's training time for Raman, Chester's baby elephant.
That's a good boy.
Raman is 9 months old, and under the watchful eye of his teacher, specialist keeper Alan Littlehills, he's proving to be a star pupil.
You're a clever little thing, aren't you? Raman Trunk? Okay, good boy.
Raman's already learned that good behaviour earns sugar lumps.
The last couple of weeks since you were here last, what I've tried to do with him is basically get his confidence. Because he was new for me, he was a new baby, so he's now, I'm the goodie man now, he's pretty happy with me. He's a little nervous of the cameras, but what I can do now is, when I call him to me, I give him a reward. Okay, but he can only come when I want him to come. He can't come on his terms, he comes on our terms. Raman, come here. Come here, Raman. Good boy, Raman. Raman trunk, just takes the trunk and reward him. There's a good boy. What we want to do now is start leading him. So he'll follow me around. And we're going to get him to this point here so we can restrain him. As we do with the adult elephants, then we start training in the leg lifts for doing foot care when they're a little bit older. Get them to lie down so you can wash them, get desensitized the ears. We're already getting to his ears very, very nicely already. Also, we'll let you touch him, see? And grab his tail, Raman tail. You've got to be able to touch them all over, really. That's it. Good boy, good boy.
Raman is proving to be a quick learner.
Good boy, good boy. Male elephants tend to pick things up a little bit quicker. Part of their solitary lifestyle, they're very black and white. Yes, no, yes, no. They haven't got all these other issues that the girls have. So you tend to find that young male elephants tend to pick things up better. I'm not going to say the bulls are smarter than the cows. This is a 400 kilo animal. It's a heavy animal. It's very, very small, but it's very, very powerful. But he's got to do what he's told. So at this stage, just getting used to spin around him. See him picking the back leg up?
Alan ticks him off.
No. Well, you've got to stop that, because that means he'll give you a kick. What they will try and do, especially a little male elephant like this one, they'll try and push their luck a little bit with you. He'll come up, he'll be really nice, he'll just start leaning on you. He'll just start doing this sort of thing. That's got to be stopped straight away. Okay, he needs to know, it's like training a dog, really. They need to know what the parameters are. They need to know that you're in charge of them, not the other way around. And all the time, you've got to stay very, very calm around them. If you get slightly stressed up, they'll pick it up straight away, and you've lost them completely then. He's gone completely AWOL on us now.
Raman earns another black mark when he interrupts the keeper's morning work routine.
He's got to realise that standing there, no, they don't want him there. He's in the way, get away, go away. It's not appropriate for him to be round there when somebody's working, because it's not safe enough. The only place he's going to get any goodies is off me. Raman, this is the mother as well, see how calm the mother is with all this? You also got to remember that you're working around her baby. So you've got to stay nice and calm with her, because she'll react to anything that happens to the baby. So the baby gets freaked out, she'll panic, and everybody else will panic as well. Because this is a family unit, so it'll go right through the whole unit. Come here, little boy. Good boy, Raman, good boy. As you see, he's quite happy with us. And you're a little boy, aren't you? Yeah.
Like most little boys, Raman likes to show his rebellious streak. But Alan is confident that he'll grow into a well-mannered adult. At Chester Zoo's Chimp Island, the inhabitants are looking forward to lunch. But they know they'll have to work for it, thanks to specialist keeper Neil Ormerod.
Well, the dinner time feed is slightly different from the morning and evening feeds. What we do is we go right up on the roof and basically just empty it through the roof, and it spreads as it falls down. It's got about 40 feet to fall. They've all got their own likes and dislikes, just like we have. I'd say orange is a Farthing's favourite food. Boris often goes for pears or bananas. Occasionally, if it's a special treat for him, they'll have grapes, and he always goes for those as well. But it's hardly surprising, everybody likes grapes. They certainly get the 5 fruit and veg a day, that's for sure. OK, that's dinner ready. Just got to go and give it to him now.
Distributing the chimps food from the top of the building provides them with variety and mental stimulation.
It's not bad having your dinner 40 foot up, upside down, is it? Got babies up here as well, 2-year-olds, and it's setting nature to them. It'll keep them going for a few hours now, that. Won't it, Lizzie?
For Neil, feeding the chimps this way has one slight disadvantage.
I think it infuriates me how agile they are compared to how unagile we are. You know, it's when you're doing work in here, you know, getting ladders and harnesses and everything else just to put a rope up, and they go straight up. It's you get a bit jealous of them almost.
The chimps have the freedom to move outside when they've collected their food.
Spreading it out this way, it stops them begging, because we used to throw it onto the island, but it encouraged, doing that way encouraged the chimps to beg, and also encouraged public to copy us and feed the chimps as well. And obviously, you've got to monitor everything they have, or else they're going to be ill, get overweight. It can cause fights, because invariably people are going to give it to the cute little chimp at the front, and the big ugly one at the back is going to take it off him, so it's going to cause a fight. The chimps seem to enjoy it. They get a good feed as well, so I think everyone's happy. They're all out now. I think they've probably finished all the dinner time, so they're just having a little siesta. Sun's shining. Youngsters are playing around a little bit. Looks like there's a mother's meeting going on over there. Just chilling out. Nice and quiet, it's how we like it.
Headkeeper Alan Woodward is playing the proud parent. Tejas's story has sparked interest from the local media, and reporter Fred Talbot has arrived for an interview.
This is a very rare line. It's an Asiatic line. Now, they're only found now in one place on Earth. We'd have to fly a long way to a national park in India, the Gir National Park, and that's the only place where these fantastic creatures are found.
The media attention gives Alan a great chance to highlight the problem facing Asiatic lions in the wild.
These are so endangered, far more endangered than African lions.
Were they once found all over Asia?
One time they covered a lot of Asia. These are the actual lions you found with the Romans in the Colosseum.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They used Asiatic lions?
Very much so, yes. So the whole area they've come from has decreased and decreased and decreased. Now they're only found in a small reserve in Western India.
So this is great news for Chester Zoo?
This is brilliant news for Chester Zoo.
And the lions?
And the lions, of course, yeah.
I've come here for, 25 years for Granada Reports, and every time it's different. It's always an uplifting story. It is actually the first time I've seen a lion cub as close as this. The cub looks all right, but Dad, no. He took a particular dislike to our cameraman, I can tell that. Mind you, that's not unusual, you know, but...
Can you tell me a little bit about
The interviews continue throughout the day.
There's been a lot of interest in him from a lot of areas, really, which is good, because, I mean, it's a nice story. I mean, we've saved his life. He wouldn't have been here if we hadn't acted when we did. And he's doing very well. He's had a good night's sleep. He's actually starting to walk a bit now as well, which is quite exciting, and everything's looking great, yeah, and it's all turned out quite well, really.
The Flanagan family from Surrey are preparing to cross the moat to get to Lemur Island. They successfully bid for the opportunity to go behind the scenes with headkeeper Andy Lenihan.
I went on eBay and it was Chester Zoo, and they were giving away a day at the zoo with lunch and to feed the lemurs on Lemur Island. And I thought it would be a very nice 21st birthday surprise for my daughter, Nicola.
It was my birthday last month, and this was a surprise until yesterday, so I'm very excited.
Well, we're just going to take these 4 lucky people onto the Lemur Island and feed the lemurs, so hopefully it'll be a good day for jumping on people's heads and stuff like that and getting people covered in banana.
But while Andy knows what to expect, the Flanagans are much less certain.
Apprehensive, I think, is the word.
A bit scared about crossing the moat and falling in flat on my face.
Right, ready? The water's not very deep, it's only up to about knee height. There's a metal grid under the water that shows you your way over. You just keep going straight.
With the moat behind them, the family can focus on the lemurs. And the lemurs are quick to focus on them.
Don't try and feed them anything but banana to start with. They've got a very sweet tooth and they'll eat all the banana first. So there's your bucket of ammunition. There's your bucket of ammunition. If we just go along a bit and then sit down on the bank, and then they'll come to us. They're quite friendly then. Sort of spread yourselves out along the bank and if you keep feeding him, he'll stay on your back.
Their paws are so soft, they're not sharp at all, are they? They're like sort of silk pads.
Very well mannered.
Yeah.
Surprisingly big mouths. They're very hungry.
They always act like they've never been fed for months, but I assure you we do feed them twice a day.
Noisy eaters. They keep waiting their turn to have the bananas. It's very sweet.
He's getting on with my bald head quite well too, the stud. Must be a bit confusing for him.
People come over and feed them and that, and obviously they have the initial reaction that you did sort of 20 odd years ago when you started doing it. So it's good to see people doing it and you know, sort of remember how you felt sort of all those years ago doing it.
No, I've never done anything like this before, but hopefully sometime I'll be able to do it again.
The animals enjoy it, the people enjoy it, so everyone's a winner really.
Next time, it's mating season. But Mugabe, the male rhino, gets it all wrong.
You think he knows he's supposed to be behind?
Tejas looks forward to his first taste of meat.
It's difficult to say how he reacts, really. I think he can smell the meat.
And an old friend from France gives Chaz a hard time.
You're going to do your stomp now. Yeah.